Okay, I'm going to be completely honest. I know no one really cares about this unit, but despite that, she is actually one of the strongest units we've gotten in Fontaine, which says a lot. So despite what you may think of her, I'm going to tell you why you should seriously consider pulling for her, because she's kind of insane. Hello there, Flip here, and today we're going to be talking about Emilie, going over why she's so good, her team options as well as her future prospects, and why she's shaping up to be one of the most important units in the game going into Natlin. But before we do that, hi. If you plan on going for Emilie or Yolon and would like to save yourself some cash, then I'd like to announce the sponsor of today's video, Loot Bar. Loot Bar is a safe service I've been using for a few months now that allows you to buy primary gems at a 20% discount, only needing your UID and region. So if I just do this, and would you look at that, in only 3 minutes I've received my gems. I got the 3,280 gems pack at only £37, saving me £8 from the original price. This site has also been endorsed by other creators like Tavot Times, Dukaja, and now yours truly. Loot Bar essentially acts as a gateway, using a VPN to cut down on the cost of gems by removing certain taxes, whilst going through the official top-up methods for the game, which allows you to enjoy all the same benefits as in-game. So use my link in the description below to get a 5% off new user coupon on your purchase. Thank you Loot Bar for sponsoring the video, now back to it. I think it's important to make it clear now that for Emilie to work you are going to need to utilize the burning reaction. Oh no, shock, horror, this is terrible. But not really, shut the fuck up. Like with how Chevreuse forces you into overload but makes that team good, and like with how Jean forces you into plunging and makes that good, and how Furina forces you to run a healer but also makes that good, Emilie is in the same vein as them. Just because it's a team archetype that isn't too heavily explored or dominated doesn't make it bad. Burning has a lot of good traits which I'll talk about briefly, but let me just tell you what she does. Don't worry, there isn't really a lot to go over. She sets down a case with her skill which does damage, and when you proc burning she can make this case stronger and do additional attacks. With her burst she gets a stronger case for a few seconds, and this burst also acts as a skill cast, so it will reset the duration of the skill completely or just set the skill itself. That's about it really, just set down your skill, proc burning, and she does a ton of fucking damage. Also no, she does not do burning damage, she does danger damage. Burning just helps her do more damage. So you built her with a traditional ADC build. Now you may be thinking, besides damage, does this bitch do anything else? I guess she makes you take less self-burning damage, that's a positive, but honestly damage is all she needs to do. Out of every off-field unit in Genshin, her damage profile, assuming you have burning on the enemy, is the highest in the game in single target. And the scary thing is that since she doesn't snapshot, this is unbuffed damage. Her damage profile is competing with some on-field carries, and in some situations she can be outdoing the damage your on-field carry does on the same team. This is unironically like Fish or Aggravate levels of dominance. Is this all she does? Yes, but that is all she really needs to do. Damage is the only thing that matters when clearing endgame content, and Emilie happens to have some of the highest off-field damage in the game for some of the best carries, which I'll touch on in a second. So even if you want to call her boring or whatever, that doesn't change the fact that she's objectively a very good unit. Also, compared to some other off-field units like Yai, Fischl, Yolon, or Jingcho, and so on, she has an insane amount of quality of life. With her, you get up to 26 seconds of uptime with a 14-second cooldown, meaning she can fit onto long or short rotations, while also not having a conditional attack pattern, so you don't need to constantly normal attack like in Yolon or Jingcho's case, which is something that causes them to lose out on a lot of damage when cycling through characters. Also, her burst can just set down her elemental skill, which again is just more quality of life. Being a Dendra unit as well, you don't have to deal with any annoying Verdescent setups. All you need to do is apply burning and you get one of the most comfortable characters to use in the game, and I can't stress this enough. And if you want to know what you can do with burning, then let me cover that. Burning is essentially just additional pyro application, and the damage it does is irrelevant, so you're honestly kind of treating her as a pyro character to an extent, more so than a Dendra unit. Which is why, even though it sounds crazy, she's looking to be an upgrade to Zhangling and some popular pyro staples, one of which being Mono Pyro. You guys wanted the Zhangling replacement? Here it is. Pyro onfielder, Bennett, Kazuha, and Emilie. The reason why this is a lot better than using Zhangling is kind of because Zhangling is a bad character in a lot of teams where she isn't the main focus. We just don't really have a way of replacing her, as Hoyo doesn't want to release another Pyro off-field DPS. Zhangling takes field time away from your on-field unit, which Emilie doesn't, and Zhangling also forces you to play on longer rotations due to her elemental burst having a 20-second cooldown, when most of the characters she runs with have shorter ones, which is an issue Perfume Lady also doesn't run into. You don't need to build around annoying energy requirements as well, so this team is just going to be easier to pilot while doing more damage. Hydra was next on the reaction priority, so I guess we can discuss Hydra teams as well, in which there are two really good ones, Nouvellette or Furina forward Vape teams. For Nouvellette, despite firing off a Hydra pump, which is literally a constant stream of water, he doesn't apply that much Hydra at all, so he very often won't over overtake a Pyro aura as long as it's consistent, which Burning is. Unfortunately, unlike some Vape Nouvellette variants, he can't use Furina on these teams, as you aren't going to have enough Pyro application for the both of them, but Emilie should make up this difference quite well, and this can be seen as a positive as this is going to be the best non-Furina Nouvellette team, saving her for another side of the Abyss, which is a massive positive. You can also just take the little dumbass and plop her into a dual carry team with Emilie, funnily enough. Furina is also on the slower side of Hydra application, which is why a team like Forward Vape works for her, and now you can offset Kazuha on this team to add Emilie. This will be good in cases where you don't need the grouping, so for bosses basically. Emilie gets no buffs normally, so allowing her to stand in Bennett's circle skyrockets her damage contribution, while Furina still gets the benefits of vaping. Though there are obviously some differences or downsides to not having Kazuha here, the AoE of the team is going to be worse as you lose out on the grouping. The team is also more restricted to Bennett's circle as Emilie doesn't snapshot, so you get less mobility compared to being able to just walk around anywhere. The team is also less quick swappy as you want to on-field Emilie to buff her, but the Kazuha counterpart can freely switch between teammates, which also helps with the fanfare generation as you get to heal more as well. So overall, I think the team is worse than the Kazuha variant, but still something to consider and is going to be a single target monster, especially if you vertically invest into Emilie. Next on the priority list is Electro, but QuickBurn teams are a meme. It's not good. It is interesting but not worth running. I'm not even going to bother. TLDR, with an Electro carry you can still have high quicken uptime while also having some burning uptime, which takes often enough to give Emilie stacks to increase her damage and proc her A1. But this is just a downgrade to both pure quicken and quick bloom, so don't use it. Well, it's not like I can really stop you either way, it's your suffering on the line, not mine. To close the team section out, we have reverse melt setups with either Gonyu or Riosli. Unfortunately, you are forced to run jungling in these setups, as forcing Kazuha here would be kind of awkward, as you need to trigger burning, so there's no way of sustaining a cryo swirl for VV, so Kazuha would just be flipping burgers on this team. Actually, for Gonyu, I'd recommend a setup with Dea instead of jungling, just for survivability, and Risley can obviously just run jungling here. Overall, just another option for these two and melt teams. I see this being more impactful for Rio, as it means you can free up Furina on his teams, but for Gonyu, she already has pretty solid burn melt setups with Nahida, and that's more impactful for her as Nahida buffs EM, and Gonyu gets to melt all of her hits regardless, so yeah. And those are really all the current teams for her. In 5.0, she gets a plethora of new synergies with both Kanich and Mualani. Mualani running forward vape setups as she's a slow Hydra applicator, and Kanich running pure burning teams, in which Emilie is by far his best teammate. His team performance actually suffers quite drastically without her, as he doesn't have that many synergistic teammates. Even Nahida isn't that great for him because of the fact that she buffs EM, which does nothing for the attack scaling carry. So if you want to bring Kanich to his full potential, I'd really recommend going for the Kave on HRT. It's pretty evident that in Natlin, Pyro reactions are going to be at the forefront as Hoyi wants characters to synergize with their Archon. And with that in mind, burning is one of those reactions greatly benefited by this, as it acts as just more Pyro, which is already evident in the two new carries in this region. Emilie and the Pyro Archon are going to most likely be one of the craziest synergies in the game, kind of like Hilon and Furina. So I really don't think it's a stretch to say that Emilie is going to be one of the most important characters to 5.0's meta, and she already is one of the strongest characters in the game currently, working with some of the strongest DPS in the game. She's trying to be official so bad, the glazing is atrocious, and there are very little flaws in her gameplay assuming you just play her on burning teams or teams that have burning in them. Like, the only real flaw I think she has in her base kit is that her weapon options are fucking atrocious. If you don't have a deathmatch, your next best option is the Blackcliff pull for 4-star options, but hopefully you picked up a Jade Spear or something along the way. I just don't really like how this character is being overlooked for the fact that she's being played on burning teams, despite the fact that burning enables really good teams. So for all of those reasons above, I hope you give the weird perfume lady a try, and with that, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment your thoughts on Emilie, as I'd love to hear it and I respond to almost every single comment. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys on the flip side. Peace.